starting with you, Briggs. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the TV show that you appeared on?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Briggs Schneider. I'm a native from here in Nashville. I was on American Ninja Warrior on season 5. A lot of people don't know about the history of Ninja Warrior. So basically, this is a TV show that spawned from the Japanese TV show Sasuke, which has been on for about 17 years now. And about 10 years ago, they decided to have something called the American Ninja Challenge, where if you did really well on a course, you get to make it all the way to Japan. Since then, the show has evolved to a boot camp style that did the same thing, and then eventually an ANW4 to having its own Vegas finals. So I was a contestant on season 5, one of the very first years in which you guys had the chance to go all the way to Vegas, and with 6 months of training, made it all the way there.
Wow.
Awesome. And your experience, Chris?
Yep. My name is Chris Bohm, also known as the Jinja Ninja for redheaded reasons. I've been on the show twice. I was on ANW7 and I was also on ANW8, and I also made it to the Vegas finals in ANW8. So him and I, we fell in stage 1 of the same, not the same course because it's different every year, but the same stage in Vegas. And we are Adventure Fitness Nashville. So we started a gym about a year ago. We're operating as a pop-up gym right now out of another gym down in Nashville near the fairgrounds. And right now we offer adult programming, and hopefully within this next year we'll be getting into a full-size facility to do kid stuff and also adult stuff still too.
And James was on Steampunk'd.
Yes.
Tell us something about your experience there.
I'm James Nether. I was on Steampunk'd. It was definitely not a fitness show. It was,
Fit into this gear, right?
Yeah. It was 10 makers get a room in the house, and we have to steampunk that room with limited resources and just whatever tools we had at hand. I made it to episode 3 before I was kicked off, and then I came back for the finale. But I do leather work, that's my specialty, and I also do electronics and CNC, wood stuff, just about anything you can think of except sewing and foam. But yeah, that's all. Very different experience.
Very different type of reality show.
Yeah.
All right. James, how did you hear about the show to even apply on it?
I'm a member of a lot of steampunk forums on Facebook and stuff like that. We post our work on there and everything. And somebody had come in there and posted on all of those forums that they were wanting to make a reality show, steampunk style reality show. We didn't know it was going to be a game show. There were no real details or anything like that. But they wanted us to apply, show them pictures of stuff that we do, of course pictures of us, and a basic bio. So I made it through 4 tiers before they flew 25 of us out to LA to interview and have a mini competition where we had to build something in 6 hours, and I've never sweated so much in my life. And they wound up choosing 12 of us, 10 to actually be on the show, and then 2 backups in case somebody couldn't stay for some reason. And that was it after that.
And Chris, Briggs, Dale's experience?
So when I got into the show, it was not super popular yet. Like nowadays, if you say someone haven't heard of American Ninja Warrior, it's pretty much a yes. Everyone's heard of it after the big Casey McCannizzaro doing so well, and Jesse Graff, and some of the other big names. But when I got into it, I just had a guy at the climbing gym that I met a few times. He had a couple of obstacles in his backyard. He had shown me them on his Kia Sarah smartphone. Really bad pictures of this stuff. And I've just always had this thing where I say, if someone's going to invite me to an adventure, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to make it happen. Still try to live that way now. So basically, I came into it purely through the athleticism side. Having been a wrestler, having been a weightlifter, and having been at that point climbing for a few years, I just wanted to see if it'd be a fun athletic challenge. And what I found the best part about this entire experience is the community. It's something that we're trying to build here in Nashville.
Yep, and for me, so I graduated college about a year before I found Briggs and the other guy he was talking about in that backyard. And, I was just like, I'm tired of, I'm 22, I'm tired of just sitting here lifting weights, staring in the mirror at the box gym, right? So I was like, there's got to be somebody here doing ninja. Found them, I was able to do pretty good on some of the obstacles my first try, and that first year I applied was ANW 6. Something they don't really tell you on the show about applying is you have to submit a 3-minute video, and you have to fill out this really long application, and that's it. you have to show them your personality, you have to tell them your story, and you have to show them your athletic skills in 3 minutes, and then you cross your fingers and wait about 3 months. Nowadays, there's over 80,000 applicants for 600 spots. Back then, it was probably about 60,000 applicants for 500 spots. So it was a little easier to get on the show, and these days, if you don't have one of those sob stories, then, if you're lucky enough to not want to have one of those sob stories, then your chances of getting on the show are kind of up in the air, even if you've been on the show before, even if you've made it to Vegas. We kind of call it the Stage 1 Vegas curse.
Riggs, what was the shooting schedule like for you?
So, a lot of people don't know this about American Ninja Warrior, but one of the reasons why it's so iconic in its visuals is the consistency you get from shooting at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, it's shot outdoors. It's normally shot against a really pretty backdrop. For example, they've got this amazing power plant out in Philadelphia that is beautiful. It looks like something from a steampunk. Yeah. It looks like the factory in the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. It's ridiculous. Wow. It's so cool. But to get that consistency, you got to run it really late at night. So my very first time running the course, I ran around 2:30 in the morning. Then I was in the hot seat. Actually, I was in one of the hot seats. There's 15 of them 30 going into the next night. You need to sit there for the entire rest of the night in case you get bumped out. They want to get your reaction when you're forced to go. So I got back to my hotel around 7 a.m. and I had to check out at 11. I did not sleep. I think I slept maybe an hour or two. Then I had to come back the very next night and shoot again, and this time my run was closer to 4 a.m.
The city qualifiers is the first night. The second night, which happens 6 weeks later on TV, is the very next night. No. So you're running off 2 hours of sleep. So,
funny story, if you ever see my only televised run with Ninja Warrior, was night 2. It is the more dramatic run, because instead of doing very well, I did well and dramatically fell. But the best part is, if you see it, it's Miami Finals Part 2. As I come up the stairs, I'm laughing and waving at the crowd. Looks like I'm really working it. It's actually because I was so tired that I tripped going up the stairs. Everyone in the crowd laughed. The guy came over the PA and goes, could you do that again, please? And so I walked back down the stairs, and as I'm walking up the stairs, they don't have any of the crowd audio they might normally have, because instead of cheering, they're all still just laughing at me. So it's grueling to run at that time at night. So.
Chris, yours?
So my first season was Orlando ANW7, and that season I think I was runner number 95, so I ran at 5:45 in the morning as the sun was peeking over the sky. And actually they were running so behind that day that not all 125 competitors were able to finish that night, so they had to run 7 competitors on night 2, and one guy finished the course, so he had to run again 20 minutes later. It's a reality show before it's an athletic competition. So remember that next time you watch it, okay, some of these guys have never trained ninja, and they put them on the show for a reason, because those face plants are hilarious. So,
did you guys hear back to one a lot? Everybody back to one?
Yeah. A lot of also something you wouldn't know unless you're in TV or done the stuff. Unions are very, very strong and important. So you're getting ready. You're like, oh, there's only 3 people going before I go, and then all of a sudden you hear lunch, which is a weird noise to hear someone say at 9 o'clock in the morning. Lunch. They take their required time they get. They do it. They have a lunch and a break or two during filming. Really great for them. It's terrible because if you don't know it's coming and you think you're about to go and you're finally ready, sin, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you've been amped for 36 hours already, and then you have to wait 20 more minutes. It's not great.
James, what was the shooting schedule like on Steampunk'd?
Oh, well, it is very reality TV-ish. So they said we have 3 days to build a room. No, you don't have 3 days. You come in, and they're filming you as you walk in, and they tell you what the challenge is. And if you don't react right to it, everybody back to one. James, I need you to be more shocked when we show you this. So I come out, and they're like, the next one is the bedroom. And I fall to my knees, and I go, ¿Por qué? And so we had to reset again. So they would explain the challenge to us, and by the time everybody had gotten to set, gotten to makeup, I mean, there were 10 of us, and then the judges, and then, so they come out there filming that, and then we don't actually even get to start working on the room until it's afternoon already. And so it's like 12 to 6, then we have to go back to the hotel room, which takes, the hotel room was like an hour away. They wouldn't let us have our phones, they almost took our TVs away. They disabled, I brought my N64 with me, couldn't have anything Wi-Fi enabled, so I'm like, I want to play some Ocarina of Time. And they screwed the TV up so that I couldn't do that anymore. I called the desk to complain about it. They do things to irritate you. At first, they don't let you eat until 9 o'clock at night, but then it's a little bit later, and then you have to get up a little bit earlier, and before you know it, you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night, and having to work with people who are used to working by themselves. So, of course, there's trying to get that friction. Then you get pulled for interviews, the on-the-fly interviews. Hey, James, we should stop everything you're in the middle of and come talk to the producer. So I go in there and like, so hey, what do you think about what Eddie said about you? Like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, he said you were a piece of crap. Oh, well, F that guy. But I mean, see, I didn't know what to expect. None of us did. But they were looking for those reactions, stuff that was drama that would make for good TV. But by the end of the show, there was so much drama going on that they were eventually like, okay, well, we're going to have to actually get more footage of them working on stuff. So people didn't see a lot of the crap that went down in the later episodes. It was insane. But I'll just synopsize it. But yeah.
So don't let you get any television?
No, that's what he got from that note.
Yeah, no fun basically. They actually took books away from me that I brought with me because they thought I might get information that would help me on the show.
Oh, wow.
It's like,
Yes, the Dresden Files has this one scene where Harry reorganizes a room, of course.
That kind of, I guess, segues into my next question, James. How did you prepare yourself mentally or physically for this experience? What that brings to light, could you? Going into it, or was it just surprise after surprise?
so my wife watches a lot of reality shows, Vanderpump Rules, anything that's on Bravo. So I watch them by proxy, and she was like, "Now you know what they do to these people." She told me, "Going, don't you say they might have cameras in your room. Don't you do anything. Don't you say anything. Don't you just nod your head and work on your stuff. They're not going to let you do that. They want your reactions to things. They want to prod you and see what they can get out of you." The reason I was America's favorite contestant on there on episode 3 was because I don't know what it was. I never really let anything get under my skin. I was having the time of my life. Everybody else hated it. I was like, I'm getting to make stuff. I can make a mess. I don't have to clean it up. I can have all these tools that I don't have at home. And I'm like a kid in a candy store, and everybody else is like JW's like, well, this lathe is Ryobi, and I'm used to using one that I built myself. And I'm not kidding. That's the kind of guy he is. So I think I was the only one actually having fun, and that's probably why it didn't get to me as much as it did them. But there's no preparation, not really.
Chris, I see you on the same thing.
Yeah. So, like I said, when I went out and tried that course, I instantly realized if I'm going to be serious at this, I'm going to have to get way more fit. And actually now I don't lift weights really at all anymore. It's all body weight stuff. So I started training 6 days a week, and I still do for the most part. About 6 days a week. 2-ish days are ninja specific at our open gyms that we run, and then other calisthenic stuff, yoga, and just endurance type of stuff is how I prepare physically. And then mentally, when I got picked for the show, I would visualize a course in my mind and visualize myself up on those blocks, and try to keep my heart rate down, because that's the most important thing. When you're up on that course, especially on the first obstacle, you're all excited, and then you forget to breathe, and then we call it flash pumping, where you just get tired for no reason, and then you're done.
Yeah. And then for me, like I said, didn't know a whole lot about the show when I first got onto it. We really hadn't seen the format consistently like we do now. We weren't exactly sure what it would look like. So as for mental preparation, I had told a friend the year before, I just heard of the show for season 4, I was like, do you think you'd do that? I was like, sure, I'd do that. If it came up, I'd do it. And then I meet this guy at this gym, I get on this course, and my only goal was be on the show American Ninja Warrior. and for me as a person, I have my goal I find somewhat realistic, and then my wildest dreams, which was Vegas. Get there instantly. So the whole time I was just I'm just happy to be here. This is cool. So mentally, I think I've always had a little bit of a different approach athletically than most people. My athletic background was wrestling. And the funny thing for me is, I'm wearing contacts right now. I have really bad vision, so I could never see the person I was fighting. Not see them at all. So it never entered into my mind to be scared of something when it came to athleticism, because I simply could not see who I was fighting. So when it comes to the ninja stuff, now after a few years, I am starting to get a little bit of that tension sometimes for competitions. But for the most part, I just have the ability to just lock it down. I'm this is a time to have fun. Whether I paid for it for competitions where there's prize money, or whether I'm on the show, or just hanging out in our gym. As for the physical aspects, probably the most important thing I do to get ready for it originally was through climbing, which I've then become a climbing coach for kids, taking people out on trips, and then, like it says for the physical stuff, I also have not lifted weights since 2011 or so, which is not my body composition is based on having lifted weights at one point, but I was able to maintain that. I rock climb, do Ninja Warrior, participate in something called acro yoga, as well as dance and other things. Pretty much anything that keeps you moving, keeps you refreshed. And then probably the number one thing that I do physically right before a comp, I take a nap. I just go to sleep. Huge thing. Yet again, pick that up from wrestling. I just find it's easiest. I sit down, and I can lower my heart rate, pretty much do the same cues people, I think, talk about doing for lucid dreaming, where you kind of visualize something while literally laying down. Just go ahead and go to sleep. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm known as the sleepy ninja. So I am totally ready to go to sleep at all times. Nothing's more calm than just bringing yourself to that state where your heart's resting. And even if I'm not literally asleep, I just let people think I'm asleep, because then they stop bothering me. You say meditating, someone taps on your shoulders every 5 minutes. If you say sleeping, they leave you alone.
I'm ready to go to sleep at all times too. That's because I have 2 young kids.
The other reason is because when we're on a road trip, within 2 seconds of being in the car, he's out. And he's not a good road trip.
It's also why I'm not allowed to drive, because about 2 seconds in the road.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what was the most challenging thing about the entire experience for you?
The most challenging thing was actually, for me, was in Vegas. And speaking of trying to get a rise out of people, as soon as I fell in Vegas, the announcer on the grounds, the 2 people up in a podium kind of announcing, they had that person who interviews you after you fall. So my story that they kind of pulled out of my video that season was a sick father. And it was not a thing, I didn't know that the show did this sort of thing. I didn't think that was going to be something they'd really focus on. I wanted to focus on I'm a really big nerd, huge, read a lot as a kid, played Magic the Gathering. Now I'm past Magic, because Magic's not nerdy enough for me anymore. So that's what I wanted to talk about, overcoming things like that, bad sight. But they really want to talk about sick dad. So I fall on that obstacle. I get out of the water, and they put me in front of a camera. I've got a towel around me, and the person goes, "I'm so sorry. So sorry you fell there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I couldn't think of anything to say." She goes, "So as we understand it, your dad's a really important person in your life, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "How do you think he'd feel about that run?" And I will completely admit to you, I started crying instantly, because I didn't know this, but I had broken my collarbone in the middle of the run. So I was physically just worn out. It was, I had been up for multiple days in a row for shooting stuff, and then I did this thing, and there are people who, when they fall in the water, they develop arrhythmias, because you're under this extreme amount of emotional and physical stress, and all of a sudden, you go from this terribly dry air to very, very gross water in Vegas. So yeah,
It's not clean.
It's not clean. It's got all the dust from all day long has been falling into this thing. So yeah, that was the most challenging part. Was after everything else, this one person just hitting me with the exact anvil blow to just break my mental state. So that was the hardest thing.
For me, the hardest mental thing is the preparation of getting there, because you may not know is when you compete on the show, what you see is their first time on the course. you don't get multiple tries. You fall at one time, you're done. So my first time on the show in A&W 7, I got to the third obstacle, which was the balance. It was paddle steps. It's a center column, and then there's steps on either side. They had very specific rules where if you touch this pad, you're out. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, if you touch the pad, you're out. Well, guess what I did? Touched the pad. I was out. And it's that, and so coming back from that and preparing, I was just overly worried about, like, don't touch this little piece, don't touch that little piece. You know, I have to step exactly here and there. And then eventually I just got through it mentally of, you know what, it doesn't matter. I got picked for A&W 8, and I was like, that's the hardest part. You got picked, now just go have fun. So now that's how I try to look at going towards the course.
Yeah, but it's funner winning than losing.
It's fun. You can put that on our shirts.
The hardest part for me, well, I didn't like being away from my family, obviously. No contact whatsoever. NDAs, you're not allowed to talk about anything ever, and not allowed to talk crap about the other contestants. But the hardest part was getting sent home. I didn't think that I should have been sent home, but I wasn't going to throw anyone under the bus, you know? Even though everything I did worked, and like all the contraptions that I made, everything worked. You know, I did some good work while I was there. So getting sent home over Morgan really kind of got to me. And then they have to film us walking out of the studio. Well, nobody had mentioned to me that they blast you with a steam cannon. I'm not kidding. They have these things just sitting there, and they go, and it's just like, so I'm walking out, and I didn't see this coming, and I'm like, and I turn around and scream at the top of my lungs so loud that the other contestants that were sequestered in the break room could hear me. Guys, what the? Everybody started laughing. They're like, all right, James, back to one. I gotta do that again.
They should do a video of that.
It took them 2 minutes to quit laughing so I could do that over.
The next question was, what surprised you most about this experience? Is there anything?
Actually, the surprising part was that I get along well with anybody, but I'm very independent when it comes to my art. I don't like working with people. None of them did either. I think that's part of the selection process. But I'm still friends with most of them. Carrie Ann, actually, she went on a convention circuit with me and Sarah last year, I think it was. She stayed with us for a month, and we just went to all the cons around here. So, like, we're all still really close. We all still talk. We go to a lot of the same conventions together and cut up, and I never would have expected that. So, also getting to be a guest at these things, and I knew it was a big deal, and that's why I agreed to do it in the first place. I didn't know if it was going to make it past first season, and it didn't. So I'm glad I took the chance. But getting to do all this stuff, and like people recognize me and all that, I'm like, wow, somebody actually watched the show. So that's cool. But, yeah.
Mine kind of follows along that line of the community. The ninja community is what surprised me most about getting involved. We've pushed ourselves into having an actual sport. He mentioned we have 2 ninja leagues now that we both participate in. But the community as a whole is so supportive because it's not you versus the other guy, unless it's Ninja v Ninja, but that's a whole other story. It's you versus the course. So we help each other along. If you see somebody fall or struggling on something, we kind of coach and train, especially those of us who are coaches. We generally try to help people on the course and try to tell them how to beat it, because that's what's most important, is seeing Mount Midoriyama go down.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I think it's that community feeling you get from the sport. I was just surprised how I've got friends literally all over the country now. I got people that I feel very confident I could say on Facebook today, hey, I'm traveling to X state. Who's got a city that's got a bedroom I can stay in for a week? It's going to happen. That's something that's amazing about the show. I've traveled, all the way down to Florida for the show. I've traveled to Philadelphia for competitions, Ohio, Arkansas. Never quite made it all the way to the West Coast, but I know that someone's got an open bed and open arms to, help us make this sport grow. I think that it's really great because while the show isn't really the best format for growing the sport, the people that were really passionate about making sure it became a sport made it happen. We've got those 2 leagues. One of them has a recreational version of it, which is really cool that they do like on the off season. We are part of the UNAA, which we love because you run the entire course no matter what. Talked about that today during class. Like you just get to run the entire course, have fun, pay your money to be there, pay your money to be part of the experience, and not like fall on one thing and you're done. So just how much the sport has grown, I think, is what's really surprised me to be more inclusive and accepting. Because as you may or may not know, there's going to be a Ninja Warrior Junior, who's going to be from ages 5 to ages 14. And then they reduced the age cap for adults down to 19. So now we're looking at a sport that, that one odd little gap in the middle is accepting people from ages 5 to ages 65.
Yeah.
So
Really cool. That's awesome.
I shouldn't say that. We got a 7-year-old ninja that'd be mad at me. Sorry, ages 5 and up.
Yeah.
So, sorry, John.
Yeah. Geriatric ninja.
It's a real thing. We all have names.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during, or as a result of the experience?
Growing up, I always wanted to be in leadership positions, and I never had really found that position too much. A couple group projects in high school, things like that. But I started an organization with a friend named Bobby, and we created something called Team Dash. And it was really great because it gave me an opportunity to reach out to people and say, this is something that I have ownership of, that I want you to be part of because I value you as a person, I value for the experiences that you can give each other. So that was a really great thing. That's what I learned about myself was I'd always craved leadership, and I think I've really built myself towards that skill set, but it was the first time I really got to exercise it. And since then, it's made me a better, I think it's made me a better friend, it's made me a better employee, it's made me a better, hopefully soon, full-time gym owner. Was that leadership ability, just really, really great to kind of grow. So.
Very cool. I'd say for me of what I'm capable of physically. Like him, I wrestled in high school and all that, but I was always a really skinny kid. If you can imagine, skinnier than this, super skinny, and so I learned what hard work, how that pays off, and what I can actually do physically now, athletically. Is really cool, and I'm happy to be able to inspire people through showing what I can do and teaching people how to do that. So that's probably what I learned most about myself.
I guess I learned that the less sleep you give me, the more creative I get. And the less food.
Last food is horrible.
I need a t-shirt that says that. But, being on the show taught me, I learned how to weld while I was there. I got a crash course. I learned how to use all these tools that I went back home and was like, I'm going to get all that. I'm going to do all these things. I learned that I can get an idea in my mind, like with the sniper rifle that I made. I just was like, what's a bandsaw? Show me how to do a bandsaw. So, and then I made because Tennessee, we got our guns, But, so I made a sniper rifle. I've never made a gun before. And it turned out to be this amazing thing. So it kind of was like, yeah, you can do more than just leather, So I guess it was that. Get to be creative.
Awesome. What practical advice would you guys give to someone who wanted to be on a show like this?
Practical advice. Don't say anything. Don't say anything that's your head. Don't say anything inappropriate. You're going to make inappropriate jokes. I'm just... The thing about it is, especially with a reality show like the one I was on, you're going to sign NDAs. You have to be extremely careful not to talk about it. As far as being prepared for it, if you don't know the nature of it, just expect everything you do to be videoed and everything you say to be recorded.
I was very ninja.
Thought you were a ninja.
When we were there, and a lot of people don't know this, we weren't allowed to talk to each other unless we were wearing a mic and the camera was pointing at us. That's it. They would say we were on ice and we weren't allowed to talk, so you have to expect that literally everything you say and do is going to be recorded somehow, and it can and will be used against you with the franking clip in. But yeah, there's you never know what to expect, I guess.
I think mine would be, find your passion and dedicate yourself to it, whether it be ninja or steampunk or anything that you want to be on a show. Find your passion and dedicate yourself to it, and remember that it's not about the destination; it's about the adventure.
That's a great quote, by the way.
Thank you. So yeah, just have fun. Find something you want to do and a goal, whether it be a show or just something, and just have fun doing it, and find your community where you can have fun with other people doing it.
Well, I'm definitely not going to be on the Bachelorette now. Don't ruin that for me.
Mine was also going to be have fun, and it's for a lot of reasons. As kids, we learn a lot through play. We learn how to treat each other through play. We learn about our bodies through play. We learn about our minds through play. It could be video games, board games, wrestling, Ninja Warrior, whatever it is. You're playing. You learn through play. If people ask me as a kid, how do you know so much about computers? It's like, from playing on computers. It wasn't from some course I took. It was just sitting down, trying something, and if it didn't work, accepting that that's okay, and trying something different. So having fun is really important, because it's what makes you grow as a person. And if we're talking about the frankness of a show, that's what people want to see. Yes, we want to see the drama, but that drama is the highlight against the enjoyability of this. Because if it was just all the bad stuff at all the time on the show, you wouldn't want to watch it. So whether it be, as a personal practice or when it comes to being on these shows, just be positive, be there, be in the experience, and realize that the only reason why you did this is because you loved it. Hopefully. Hopefully, for us, we love fitness, we love pushing ourselves as athletes. He obviously is a very passionate artist. That it doesn't matter what you're doing, if you do it with passion, having fun, and looking, to yourself to say, this is why I'm here, it's to have fun. Even if, there's that cash money on the line. I've never thought about the money when I do this stuff. The money's always just a random thing.
That's a very random question
Yeah.
probably never been asked.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen two ninjas actually get in a fight on the show? 'Cause
Not on the show.
Or even behind the scenes, or something happened, they just...
For better or worse, the ninjas are very aware of not physically touching each other, I feel. I've never heard of an actual fist fight happening. But as we're talking about a community of lots of very competitive, mostly dudes, occasionally you'll hear about a spat in an argument. I'd say more often, if there's any sort of big arguments, it's more like someone feels like the way they were judged on something was unfair, which is something that happens on the show. There's plenty of examples of someone who's very famous on the show doing a slight thing that should get you DQ'd and it doesn't happen, and then someone 2 runs later who's not famous.
I was just wondering.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really, for the most part, there's really no physicality between the people, and I think it's because I think we're all very aware, at least I think those of us who might have the ability to cause harm, I think we are aware we are. Being wrestlers, we know the moment you put your hands on someone that you are escalating the situation, and that it should be reserved for very specific reasons. So I'd say in general, I cannot think of a single time I've ever heard of physical altercation.
I have a story. So we're allowed to talk about it now because the NDA is expired. But when I was talking about how the drama, they actually had to focus more on us making stuff because the drama was getting out of hand. So the last episode, the finale, Morgan and Eddie got into a screaming match, and of course the cameras are all right there, oh, this is good. Morgan hauled off and punched Eddie, didn't full force in his arm. And he didn't do anything, I've got to give him some credit, but she physically assaulted him. In our contracts, it was immediate disqualification if you physically harmed someone. So she got yelled at for that, but it's the finale, what are we going to do? Just get rid of one of the contestants? Oh, sorry, she couldn't be here today, So, after that happened, they were, F-bombs for days. I don't think any part of that conversation was not believed. And they, as soon as Eddie walked inside, I had finished painting these pipes for his challenge. I set them out to dry. Morgan comes along with a can of red spray paint and just like that all over it. So the producers was Thomas, one of the judges, the one that saw her do it. So he grabbed Ryan, the producer, and told him. And the producers were all like, okay, keep Eddie inside. Do not let him come out here while we fix this. I didn't know about it. They didn't tell me either because I didn't really care for Morgan, but I wasn't like, punch her in the face or anything. Although she does have a very punchable face. But I mean, just the screaming match was the finale. It was insane. Like the rest of us were all just like this the whole time. And Eddie's not a big guy, but he's like Steampunk Joe Pesci or something. So that was interesting to say the least. But that was the only time any physical altercation happened.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
'Cause I know they have the control mechanism, but there's got to be some points in these shows where something just goes awry.
I'd say the something going awry is obstacles breaking.
Yeah.
This happens. Or a really prime example happened to a friend of ours. They took an obstacle and they felt like they had it sort of properly adjusted. They ran a bunch of people, realized the obstacle was too hard, changed it, then ran a select people of the people that fell on it. Basically, it had 2 sections, and if you touched the second section and fell, you're allowed to run again. Which is a really weird, basically they just didn't have enough time to run everyone who fell on it again, so they just came up with this really random thing. And then this year, I've heard of other things happening. And that, frankly, as gym owners, this is just something that happens. You think you've got it built really well, and then all of a sudden, we've got a guy named Robbie who comes to our gym. Robbie's 240?
Yeah, like 260.
Yeah.
6'5". He was a football player.
Yeah. So you can imagine if we're building it, typically we build it for my tolerance plus some more, because I break things. But then all of a sudden someone gets up there that has nearly 100 pounds on me, and like I said, we're really big geeks in this sport. I don't know if I've explained that enough. We're all huge geeks, and she's an engineer. I'm a big climbing geek. We know all about tolerances of things when falling force versus holding onto something. The amount of force difference isn't 100 pounds. When they're falling, it's exponentially bigger. So that's probably the biggest crazy thing that'll happen there is, something breaks or doesn't act right. How do you adjudicate that correctly? How do you kick one of the 2 people that are left on the show off? Or if someone, grabs a section of the obstacle they know they're not supposed to, but they're one of the last 3 people. Are you gonna disqualify them? Nah. Someone might take advantage of that.
Yeah, or they're super popular.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys would do differently in hindsight?
Not fall. Definitely not fall if I could change anything.
I would have thrown Morgan under the bus, so I would have run her over and then backed it up.
Even if it would have costed my original appearance on the show, I would never have mentioned a sick family member. I just never reality TV at all, so it was not a thing that even occurred to me. I just tacked it on, literally was submitting the video that day, had to do 1 or 2 more shots. My dad landed in the hospital. I did it again because we just didn't know that whether he was going to make it or not. So I would never do that again. I feel like I exploited family tragedy for it, and I think that's something I don't love about reality TV in general. I can't really say that Ninja Warrior is any more guilty than anything else. But yeah, I would definitely not have a sob story. Take me or leave me.
Yeah, what I would do differently, obviously, training harder, that sort of thing. I feel like I prepared for Vegas, my season, pretty well. Another thing is people always say, I would have enjoyed it more. I feel like I really try hard to make sure to took in everything, because really the experience of going to Vegas is more about the community and hanging out with the other ninjas than competing for 5 minutes. So I maybe would have. There's a place called Red Rocks in Vegas. You hike out to it, and it's like a lake. I definitely would have gone on that trip because they go every year in Vegas, and I didn't. I don't even remember why, but I definitely would have gone to that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. My year, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff because it was only the second year, and people didn't know it very well. But I made good friends with a guy you may know named Drew Dreschel. Just happened to meet him in Miami, and then saw him in Vegas, got caught up with him. And they were shooting B-roll, and they had this lead on trapeze stuff, that they could go do for free. And somebody decided, reasonably, I don't want to hurt myself the day before the competition. And I got to go do that for free, and that was awesome. But yeah, I kind of wish there was more stuff to do my year in Vegas. Because like you said, you're there for 4 or 5 days, and you're kind of just sitting around, and funny story, the Hooters Hotel. Because
Not nice.
It's not nice. Originally, we were there because it was under construction in AW5, and they got really good deals. And I'm super glad that I was in something called The Bungalow, which was not attached to the main hotel, so I couldn't hear the construction noise. That evidently went all night long. And ever since then, the Hooters Hotel just loves having us. I don't know why. We're super unruly, but maybe not compared to like...
Up at all hours of the night, but I guess it's Vegas, right?
It's Vegas, right? I thought, after the insane amount of flips and tricks we were doing in the pool, that they wouldn't have let us back. But yeah, it's it's a whole experience there. So.
We didn't get to go anywhere or do anything. I'm not kidding. We got to our room, they took our keys. So if we left our room, we'd get locked out, and they were nowhere out of our room.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And they did room checks. Like, they would come around every so often randomly. Yeah. You in there? No.
I'm an adult, man.
Did you take the key back?
No. The hotel people, like at the front desk, they knew we were there. They knew sort of why we were there, and they knew that we were not allowed keys of our own. And yeah, so we didn't get to have any. It was literally at the hotel or at the set. Couldn't talk to each other unless we had a camera and mic on. There was no going to experience anything. Now, casting weekend was a different story, because we could all talk to each other. And Saturday night. Night before the challenge, they had an open bar, and and Sunday night we had a party of our own. There was a liquor store down the street, and you can buy alcohol on Sundays in California. So that was rowdy. There were 25 of us down there just acting insane. We were just so happy to I got to meet people at the casting that I was friends with, been friends with for years on Facebook. Never would have gotten to meet them otherwise. So it was cool, and we all had fun. That was it though. After that, it's like, hey, you're on the show. No more fun. Fun is over.
Is there anything else that y'all would like to add about it?
Just, we're working real hard on getting a gym going right now, y'all. So if you want to do kids' parties, if you want to do adult training, we've been doing this for about a year now.
Or adult parties.
Or adult parties. No, we had
a few.
Yeah, from someone drive from Memphis for a party, because we are the closest thing you're going to get to this type of training around. We have, there's no other, I don't think there's any other gyms within at least a 4-hour radius run by Las Vegas Ninja Warrior finalists.
Yeah.
And a few people who can say authentically that they've been in this sport for a grand total between the two of us for 10 years. Just feel free to come check us out. The first class every Saturday morning is free for you, and then we have great deals on when you partner up with somebody and bring them. You can get a good rate on the open gyms, which are all of our services that are post-ship are 13 and up. But for the private events, I will somehow make a 2-year-old birthday party work if you want.
We'll do it. We have a table downstairs with shirts for sale if you want. Our website is BeFitAF. That's our slogan, BeFit, Adventure Fit.
Oh.
No. BeFitAF.com. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Adventure Fitness Nashville. Come check us out.
Plug.
Starboard Sky.
I don't have any shameless plugs, but you guys want to hear a really funny story?
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so another thing that made me mad about the editing of the show was not that they went towards drama, but they left out all of my dad jokes and all of this funny stuff that happened. And I'll tell you just one instance that was the funniest thing ever. So Eddie is trying to jam a door into a frame that he had the Shadow Crew make. The Shadow Crew were people that would cut wood for us and do basic tasks that we wouldn't have to do. So Eddie kept shoving it in there until finally the frame on top was a 2x4 and it popped off and it fell down and bounced off his big bald head. And I kind of felt bad for saying this because he started bleeding and everything, but I'm like, home run, Cubs win! And they left it out!
Pretty good.
I didn't even think about this. They also edited, since they didn't show my first run, I had this idea, and I didn't make it far enough. I didn't have an appropriate time where I fell on the second night. I pulled a D20 out of my pocket. So I get up to the top of the warp wall, hit the buzzer, and it took me a second to get it out. Pull it up, and then I hold a D20 up for the camera. And everyone thought I was holding up a ring. So much better. But I was not dating anyone at the time. I turned and made sure I was showing the 20 to the camera. And they did not use it. And man, I just want that to be my legacy more than anything else. I pulled a Dungeons and Dragons still have?
Nice.
You are a big nerd.
It's a dice. Real big nerds. When someone told me,
Yeah.
when someone said, "Hey, do you want to come to a thing called Imagicon?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, of course."
Well, Chris, is there anything?
No, nothing else, yeah.
Cool. Well,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chris,
guys.
James. Thank you guys for coming out.